and part 3 of the series. At this point I should say, well, I should have said it earlier, but since I didn't, because I forgot, I'm saying it now. This series might be long. If you're a skeptic looking for some really quick way to dismiss all this, this may be too long of a series to do that. I would like to draw a parallel to things like online poker. If you want to learn poker and you just go to any forum, you'll see that it takes a couple of books, a couple of videos, a couple of 1,000 hands to get right, and it is a time-consuming process. So, yeah, also, okay, enough with that. Stage 1, how do we start a session? There is also some amount of theory to this one. This is something that I added to the common knowledge out there. And it is a little something that Da Vinci used to say, as far as I know. Hope I'm not mixing this up because I read it a lot of time ago. Da Vinci, to my knowledge, used to say, if you need inspiration, just look at random patterns in nature. And examples given were clouds on the sky, looking into the fire, that, what do you call it, like into the burning fire. There are some random patterns in there, the wood and the cracking and all the stuff. You can look into mud in the street when it's raining and people walk over it. I would add a few of my own. If you look at the tiles in a bathroom, some of them have some patterns and they're all random. Or if you look at tree bark. Why do we need this? Well, apparently our brains have inbuilt pattern recognition, and they try to make our mind tries to make a completely random pattern into something that's non-random, something that's familiar. That's why we see bunnies and dogs in the sky, in the clouds, and so on and so forth. Also in drawing, I've seen this in art books, if I'm not mistaken. If you look at a blank sheet of paper and you don't know what to draw, you have no inspiration, just looking at the blank sheet of paper won't get you any further. But if, however, you do one of the standard divisions or even random divisions, like you put a few lines in there, this will get the brain started. It will figure out at this intersection you might put some grass and here a cloud and so on and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is that the conversion from random pattern into something familiar is something that every brain does naturally. They're constantly looking to decode that, and where remote viewing kicks in, and other intuitive skills as well, is the following. The conversion from totally random to something familiar is affected by intuition. So forcing the brain to convert any random pattern into something else that something else that the brain chooses will be relevant to whatever you're thinking about. So for instance, if you're really hungry and you look at clouds, everything will start to look like food. If you're horny, everything will start to look like breasts and what have you. In a simple matter of speaking. That's why people do scrying, crystal scrying, or some people use tarot cards, or they use coffee, what do you call that? I don't know what it's called, but it's after you drink the coffee, there's a random pattern on the bottom of the cup. If you look into that and you know what you're doing, you can sort of decode that and find out things about the person you're trying to find out about. I don't know how to do that, but I do believe it's the same principle. Now, in remote viewing, we also have random pattern of our own. Damn, it's almost half a video and I've just gotten started. And they're called ideograms. An ideogram is like this. You write the code, so AB4X whatever, and then you put the pen down and you do a quick squiggle like that, like just something like that. That's an ideogram. This is the starting point for any session that we do. We do a couple of ideograms, as in several ideograms in stage 1, and this is, as far as I know, the better part of my sessions. Yeah, how do they work? In order to work with ideograms, the standard training procedure says you should train them. You should do things like this is a mountain, and this is water, and this is land, and I don't know if you can see them. So mountain, water, land, structure, or any sort of right angle like this is a human man-made structure of some sort, and so on. I've done that to some extent, and I'm not doing it anymore, and I found that although my ideograms look pretty similar, once I start decoding them properly, they do the job. So learn about that if you want. Decoding and practicing ideograms, if you want, may work for you. Also, I've noticed after I do art for a few hours, the ideograms look very interesting and they do a pretty good job. Now, how do we decode one? You've said code, and done something. So decoding an ideogram is made in a few steps. First of all, you repeat it above the paper, so you feel the exact motion that it's following. This is something that you can't control, so it just comes like this. Even if you make something that you want to look like this, it won't come out the same way twice. It's like your own signature. So, decoding. You follow it to understand the shape, and then you start to break it apart into a few pieces of line. So this one, for instance, is a curved line downwards. So you write curve, I write CVG down, or diagonal down. Then you have here a peak, if it's a peak, or a loop, if it's a loop. So, wham. It's like this, and to me it's a peak. And then another curved line over something, and then under. So you write all the components of this. Here we have a peak, and then this one is either I have to follow it to understand what it's doing. You don't just look at it, you repeat the thing in the air, and if it's like this, if it's a curve, it's over something, if it's straight horizontal, and you do all that. And basically this is a random pattern. But the decoding does exactly what the crystal ball does. It allows, so as you say, it's a curving like this, you may get the image of a mountain or something else. You'll get the image of a vase or of something else that's just flashing through your mind really quick as you do that. And as you decode the next one, you get some other piece of information. So you do the complete decoding of the shape of it, and then you have to do some probing. And with that, I think I'll end the video. Probing, you have to answer a few questions. You can touch to feel the nature of the shape that it's describing. You touch the tip of the pencil to the ideogram. So you touch it like this. We call this probing. And you have to answer a few questions. The shape, is it natural or man-made? This is important. And then about the consistency. Is it hard, soft, liquid, airy, or some sort of energy? You may get ideograms that are like this, very, very agitated. That might be movement or energy. I don't know, racing, combustion engine, rocket flight, stuff like that. So we decode the nature of it, natural or man-made, and is it hard, soft, liquid, airy, gas, or energy, movement. Yeah, so much about ideograms. Stopping it now, reviewing, and then I'll make part 4, I believe. Part 4.